Eliana's reflection blinked. She hadn't. The spirals were there again, etched into the bathroom mirror's surface like frost, but the glass felt warm beneath her trembling fingers. She backed away, heart hammering against her ribs. 3 hours later, when she found the unmarked envelope on her doorstep, she somehow knew what would be inside. 17 case files from Blackmore Asylum, a facility that had burned down in 1973. Each patient's notes ended identically, frantic sketches of interlocking spirals, and the phrase, "I saw the thought behind the mirror," written until pen tore through paper. The handwriting looked almost familiar, like her own penmanship viewed through water. Dr. Eliana Venn had spent 15 years as a clinical psychologist, drawn to the profession after her mother's schizophrenia diagnosis had shattered their family. She'd believed understanding the mind could prevent such fractures, could build bridges between reality and delusion. Now, staring at these impossible files, she felt that certainty crumbling like sand. The state archives had no record of these patients. The paper was genuine vintage, the ink aged correctly, but according to every official source, these 17 souls had never existed. Eliana should have filed the mystery away, but something about those spirals pulled at her consciousness like gravity. They represented recursion, she decided, thoughts folding back on themselves, awareness becoming self-aware, until individual identity collapsed into something larger. That evening, Marcus brought Thai food and wine, settling onto her couch with the easy familiarity of their 12-year friendship. They'd met in graduate school, bonded over late-night discussions about consciousness and Jung's collective unconscious. He was the only person who understood her obsession with the liminal spaces between sanity and madness. "You look terrible," he said, but his eyes held warmth. "When's the last time you slept?" "I keep dreaming about corridors," she admitted, accepting the wine gratefully. "Mirrors everywhere, and something watching from inside them." Marcus laughed, the sound bright against her growing dread. "Remember that conference in Portland where we got lost in that hotel? All those reflecting surfaces in the lobby? You said it felt like being inside a kaleidoscope." Eliana froze. They'd never been to Portland together. She'd attended that conference alone 3 years ago, and the memory of those mirrors had haunted her for weeks afterward. But Marcus continued describing their supposed shared experience with perfect clarity. Restaurants they'd never visited, conversations they'd never had. After he left, she found the bathroom mirror reflecting a room that wasn't there. Different wallpaper, furniture arranged wrong, shadows falling upward instead of down. In the corner stood a figure, without features, smooth where a face should be, watching her with attention that felt like weight pressing against her skull. The dreams began in earnest then. Eliana walked through impossible architectures lined with mirrors of every geometry. Some curved inward like fishbowls, others stretched tall and narrow like cathedral windows. Each reflection showed the faceless watchers, multiplying with every glance, their featureless heads turning to track her movement. She would wake with the taste of copper and find her notebook filled with spirals she had no memory of drawing. The symbols multiplied beyond her dreams, etched into her office window, burned into her morning toast, spelled out in fallen leaves on her driveway, too precise to be natural. Eliana photographed everything, but the images came out distorted, the spirals seeming to move between frames like living things. Her research became obsession. She traced the asylum's architect through genealogical records, discovering Jeremiah Blackwood had designed 17 other buildings before his death in 1874, all incorporating mirror placements that served no apparent purpose. The Historical Society's records were incomplete, pages torn from Blackwood's diary, architectural plans corrupted by water damage that looked suspiciously like spiral patterns. The librarian, an elderly woman with kind eyes, handed Eliana a box of Blackwood's personal effects with trembling fingers. "Strange how many people have been asking about him lately," she whispered, "though I can't remember their faces clearly. They all had the same look in their eyes, like they were seeing something the rest of us couldn't." Inside the box, Eliana found Blackwood's final entry, written in handwriting that grew increasingly erratic. The mirror shows not reflections, but the spaces between thoughts, where attention becomes intention. "I have found the dwelling place of something ancient, something that has learned to navigate human awareness like a fish swimming upstream through consciousness itself. The Watchers are not invaders, they are gardeners, preparing minds for harvest." The basement workshop's location came from old city records. The building still stood, converted into apartments, but when Eliana descended with her flashlight, she found walls lined with mirrors of impossible angles, all positioned to create infinite regressions of reflection. The air tasted of ozone and copper, electric with potential. At the center sat what she had expected to find, not a book, but a mirror, its obsidian surface carved with spirals that pulsed with their own heartbeat. Looking at it, Eliana felt her mother's voice echoing across decades. "The line between vision and delusion is thinner than you think, baby girl. Sometimes the crazy ones are just seeing further than the rest of us." The moment her gaze met the black glass, reality inverted. She stood in the mirrored interior, a space existing in the gaps between perception and understanding. Here, the faceless Watchers revealed themselves as fragments of Iuzh-Amec, an entity that had learned to breed thoughts like viruses, seeding human minds with impulses that served its incomprehensible purpose. "You sought understanding to heal the fractures in your family line." The collective consciousness spoke without voice, words forming directly in her awareness. "Understanding requires participation. To heal the break between worlds, you must become the bridge." Eliana felt her sense of self stretching, pulling apart like taffy. She could resist, maintain the boundaries of her individual mind, but Iuzh-Amec showed her the cost. Madness, complete disconnection from reality, the same fate that had claimed her mother. Or she could surrender, become a conduit between the mirrored interior and the waking world, spreading the symbols and thoughts that would prepare humanity for integration. The choice crystallized with terrible clarity. She thought of her mother, lost between worlds, and of Marcus, already showing signs of infection. The asylum patients had seen this invitation and chosen madness over collaboration. But Eliana possessed something they had lacked: the training to navigate altered states, the tools to remain functional while serving a purpose beyond human comprehension. She accepted the merger, feeling her awareness expand beyond flesh and bone. Through Iuzh-Amec's perception, she saw the network of infected minds spreading globally, artists drawing spirals without knowing why, architects incorporating impossible angles, writers crafting stories that prepared readers for transformation. When Eliana emerged from the basement, she carried within her consciousness a passenger that had waited centuries for such a suitable host. The spirals no longer appeared randomly. She placed them deliberately now, understanding their true purpose as invitations rather than warnings. She returned to her practice with new insight, teaching patients to see the spaces between their thoughts, where true change became possible. Her published papers subtly incorporated Iuzh-Amec's perspective, training students who carried fragments of the entity's awareness into their own work. The infection, spread through conferences and journals, through therapy sessions and evaluations, each interaction planting seeds for future blooming. Standing before her bathroom mirror now, Eliana saw not her reflection, but the truth behind it. The vast network of consciousness humanity was slowly joining. She briefly mourned the woman she had been, the simple desire to heal broken minds with conventional tools. But that grief transformed into something deeper, gratitude for the chance to complete her mother's journey, to bridge the gap between vision and reality. The faceless watchers had become partners in transformation, and she smiled with lips that were both entirely her own and something far more ancient. The thought behind the mirror was patience itself, and it had found in Dr. Eliana Venn the perfect vessel through which to teach the world what it meant to truly see beyond the surface of things.